Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the Pacific Northwest Opportunities Fund Committee's second webinar. The PNWOF is an opportunity for dues-paid clubs in the Pacific Northwest Key Club District to organize a large-scale service project. During this webinar, you'll have a chance to connect with previous PNWOF grant recipients who have firsthand experience with applying for a PNWOF grant. With that being said, I hope you all enjoy what our committee has planned. As we begin our webinar, I take great pleasure in introducing our committee members. Joining us today, we have Harleen Brar, Lieutenant Governor of Division 72, Kim Tu, Lieutenant Governor of Division 66, Matthew Nguyen, Lieutenant Governor of Division 38, Cedar Teterick, Lieutenant Governor of Division 62, and Abby Bohador, Lieutenant Governor of Division 20M. Finally, my name is Haley Smith, and I serve as the PNWOF Committee Chair and the District Treasurer. I will now hand it off to Cedar to introduce our panelists for tonight.
Thank you, Haley. Alongside the committee members, we are proud to introduce you all to our tonight's panelists. Joining us, we have Justin Yee, Jeannie Walsh, and Delaney Mosh. Thank you so much for giving up your time this evening to share your experiences with the PNWOF. I'll now hand it off to Abby so she can give us a little bit more info about the PNWOF.
Thanks, Cedar. While some of us may know a little about the PNWOF grant, I think it's always a good idea to provide a quick refresher. The Pacific Northwest Opportunities Fund, PNWOF, is a unique grant that is only available for dues-paid clubs in the Pacific Northwest District to help fund a large-scale service project that will either directly benefit your community or the district project help end hunger. The grant amount you can request through PNWOF can range from $100 to $1,000. However, it can only fund up to 2/3 of the entire service project. If you request more than 2/3, your grant application will not be considered. The PNWOF application is open and will close on Sunday, October 31st at 11:59 p.m. Please don't wait until the last minute to complete your application. We found that applications submitted at the last minute are generally not selected for funding. If you have any questions or need assistance with completing your application, please contact Committee Chair Haley Smith. I'll now hand it off to Harleen to tell us about Ashland High School's service project.
Thank you so much, Abby, for the great explanation of what the PNWOF is. Today, I'll be interviewing Jeannie Walsh, the Kiwanis advisor for the Ashland High School Key Club. Ashland High School Key Clubbers came together and bought supplies for families who lost their homes during the Alameda Forest Fire. These Key Clubbers were able to buy 25 space heaters to keep families warm and work with other community members to have supplies donated. So my first question for you, Jeannie, is what was the most fulfilling aspect about applying for and receiving the PNWOF grant?
Well, I was totally overwhelmed by the fire. I had never been through an experience like this, nor had anybody in Key Club. And so it was just, we were just doing everything we could as a community, Ashland community, as well as the high school, to help all these displaced people. We had on September 10th of 2020, there were 3,000 families displaced from the fire. That's a lot of people. And we had 60% of the Phoenix Talent School District homeless. So it was just overwhelming. I really didn't know what I was getting myself into, but the number of students at the Phoenix Talent schools was about 550 out of their 900 students that were homeless. So what an amazing thing for us to get that $1,000 from PNWOF to help buy some space heaters, which I'll talk to you a little bit about. But that was probably the neatest feeling, just being able to help these families in great deal of time and needs.
Thank you so much, Jeannie. That sounds incredible. Now, my second question for you is, were you surprised with the outcome of your project in terms of member participation and the number of donations?
Yeah, the Ashland High School Key Club was really involved in a lot of ways, not only with the space heaters, but just they helped with so many different projects within the city of Ashland. Ashland kind of became the hub for lots of restaurants offering free dinners to these people. There was tons of clothing brought in because these people were displaced in the middle of a day. Nobody was home, but the kids were at school and the parents were working. So you literally lost every little thing that you owned in a situation like that. So it became a very personal thing with all of Ashland doing everything we could to help them. And, you know, food, shelter, clothing, they just didn't have these things. A lot of these people were migrant workers. So they basically didn't have a lot of possessions. Some of them lost all their cash and their mattresses. It was just one thing after another. The Key Clubbers immediately put on a car wash. We needed to raise $1,600 for these space heaters, and $600 had to come from the car wash, and they just spent as much time during the day to get that car wash to create $600, and then PNWOF was able to give us the other $1,000. So, I mean, I'm just totally grateful. The Key Clubbers were just overwhelmed with excitement, and they really felt like a sense of accomplishment with something so amazing for a community.
Thank you. That sounds so fulfilling and so awesome.
Yeah, it was.
Yeah. My third question is, how did receiving the PNWOF grant benefit your club or community?
Well, first of all, these people were all homeless. They were divvied up into hotels, FEMA trailers, and just trying to place these people in homes especially in Ashland. People tried to take these families into their families for a period of time. So the most exciting thing about that was just being part of all of that. Every Key Clubber helped out with helping serve dinners. They helped find clothing. I had never seen so many articles of clothing being donated by a huge community. So, I mean, I think the people were well taken as long as they had a place to live. And the FEMA trailers were key for a lot of these people. However, the FEMA trailers were empty. When they received them from the federal government, there was nothing in the FEMA trailers. So it was a matter of getting the trailers livable for families. That was, an amazing thing. And we had worked with the Phoenix Talent Superintendent's Office, as well as the Phoenix Talent School Board to focus on the space heaters. And that was the one thing they really wanted, 25 of them for these people that were put around Immigrant Lake in these trailers. So it was a real reachable project. And the biggest problem I saw at the very end was that the Key Clubbers were not able to deliver the space heaters to the families directly because of COVID. And so that was really disappointing because it would have been such a nice, picture opportunity. But the Phoenix Talent Superintendent's Office said that they would not be able to personally deliver the actual space heaters. So.
Yeah. Well, my last question for you is, what were some obstacles you faced when planning the project and how did you overcome them?
Well, I worked with the officers of Key Club, and we had kind of a little thing going, calling the superintendent's office in Phoenix Talent, as well as the school board, trying to get, first of all, them to answer their phones. And, we kind of finally figured out we needed space heaters. And so that was good. They each cost $62 each. And if we got 25 of them, that would, come up to $1,600. So when we had to order the space heaters, we had to find a place that wasn't back ordering. As you know how things are always back ordered now. Well, that was also happening back then. So we fortunately were able to go to Home Depot, where they promised us that there would be no back orders. And we really wanted the families to have these space heaters by Thanksgiving. And that was kind of our goal. And so that was a little bit, Home Depot was a little bit sketchy, so they would come in and say, I don't know if we're going to get them. And I go, oh no. So the Key Clubbers were instrumental in making these phone calls and just trying to keep it organized. And they were again disappointed at the end when they couldn't personally take them to the 25 families that were at Immigrant Lake, but they got some pictures anyway. So that was a great moment.
That's so cool. I honestly think like one of the best parts about Key Club is like how much you can do to really help people around you and change the world.
Yeah.
But thank you so much, Jeannie, for taking the time
You're so welcome.
and answer these questions. We appreciate all that you do. I will now be handing it off to Kim to tell us about Clackamas High School's annual event.
Thank you, Harleen. Winter Blitz is an annual event that has been held by Clackamas High School for over 20 years. This event provides families in their community with toiletries, clothes, foods, and presents during the holiday season. Today, I'll be interviewing Delaney Mock, who is a member of Clackamas High School Key Club, in addition to serving as their district webmaster. The first question is, how early do you start planning this project, and how much time would you recommend a club set aside to complete the planning process?
Yeah, so for Winter Blitz, we start planning as early as July or August, which gives us about 3 to 4 months to prepare this project. During the summer, we begin fundraising and gathering donations from around the community. So like this includes making flyers, organizing canned food drives, and trying to get businesses to sponsor Winter Blitz. I would recommend a club to set aside at least 1 month to complete the planning progress, but it all really comes down to what type of service project your club is hosting. Planning takes a lot of work, and I want to emphasize how important it is that your plan is thorough. You don't want to jump into a service project without knowing what to do. Know your budget, what materials you need, and who to reach out for help. Create a timeline and always refer back to it to stay on track.
Yes, it's always recommended that you start something passionate early. So why do you believe a club should apply for the PNWOF grant?
A club should apply for the PNWOF grant because it can provide valuable resources and funding needed to carry out your service project. When my club was fundraising for Winter Blitz, it was challenging because of the COVID-19 pandemic. I know for clubs that are located in rural areas, it can be especially difficult to fundraise since there aren't as many large businesses. This is where the PNWOF comes in. If you know that you need extra funding for your service project, don't let this opportunity pass by. I totally think the PNWOF is like a great thing and that you should totally apply it. Even if you're considering like doing a small service project, it could really lend an extra hand in funding that you need to get like materials.
I totally agree. It's always like a good thing if you can receive more help in giving back your community. So how were you able to promote and fundraise for this project?
Yeah, good question. So we promoted Winter Blitz using social media platforms like Instagram and Facebook. We also reached out to our high school's like social media coordinator to post about this event on our high school's Instagram page. Another way we promoted this project was by hanging flyers around large business areas. We hung them around businesses and just asked the store manager if we could put a flyer on their like window or door. For fundraising, we had to do a lot of outreach. We partnered with restaurants like Panda Express and Chipotle to hold like fundraisers. And we also asked students from our school to like donate like clothing, food, and toiletries that we need for the event. And we also reached out to community members who would be interested in volunteering at Winter Blitz.
It's so cool the extent you went to get your community involved. What advice would you give to a club who wants to do a similar project? And this is the final question.
Okay, so my piece of advice would be to consider the needs of your community. Reach out to your members and students at your high school to brainstorm a list of problems you want to address in your community. If you've had a successful service project in the past, find ways to expand it. This could be getting your high school involved, as well as families in your school district. I find that the more community involvement there is, the more successful your service project will be.
That is really thoughtful. Thank you, Delaney, for your insights. I'll now let Matthew tell us about South Bend High School's project.
Thanks, Kim, for the introduction. I'm joined today by Justin Yee, who played a big role both during the application process and in organizing the supply drive by South Bend High School. The Key Clubbers organized the supply drive to purchase school supplies for over 100 students. Family and school budgets took a hit during COVID-19. Key Clubbers wanted to ensure their classmates arrived at school prepared and ready to learn. Hey, Justin.
Hey, Matthew.
Do you consider your project a success?
Yes, definitely.
Nice. And what specific things did your club do that led to the success?
Well, first off, communication was definitely key. So talking to each member specifically and what their roles are was very important to the project. Talking to our advisors, our club advisor and our Kiwanis club advisor is also very important just to get their support. Having that insight from adults is very valuable. We also talked to our family resource navigator, Catherine Stotts, the person in charge of helping families in need. She has experience with helping families whose resources are already very, very low. So with her help, we assessed the situation. We assessed her situation. So basically, she told us about her supplies and told us that she was running low on certain supplies. And I still have the list to this day. I still have the list of all the supplies that we bought so that students would have access to those supplies. And lastly, we set small goals. So we set some small deadlines for fundraising. We set aside 2 weeks up for fundraising, and we set aside some time to order supplies and organize those supplies. And lastly, delivering those supplies.
Sounds good. All right. What gave you the idea for this project?
So my club president, Ole Olsen, came up to me. First thing we did when we first met was tell me about his supply drive idea. So basically, he wanted to build on the hygiene drive that happened in a previous year, and it was largely successful because classes competed to help donate hygiene supplies, toothpaste, toiletries to Key Club, and Ole thought of a supply drive idea to help kids during the pandemic. So we discussed the current situation of South Bend, how budgets were taking a hit, and we wanted to alleviate our community stress. We didn't want parents and families to worry about purchasing school supplies. We wanted them to worry about their other needs, bills, transportation, food, etc. So it was really nice that we were able to put together this supply drive.
Nice. And how did you hear about the PNWOF?
Lieutenant Governor Here Patel advertised it, and as soon as I heard it, at the same time, Club President Ole Olsen came up to me and emphasized it. He told me how much of an opportunity the PNWOF was. So, and that inspired me to look into it more. So I did as much research as I needed to, attended a webinar just like this, looked at the criteria checklist, and as I listened to stories about other PNWOF projects, that really inspired me to at least apply for the PNWOF. If I didn't get it, then I know that I at least tried, and it's just an awesome opportunity. So I took it.
Nice. So if you could go back in time, is there anything you would change? And if so, what would you change?
I would definitely change my instincts. I would go back in time. The first thing I'd say, Justin, please reach out to more people. A business came up, without even begging, a business came up to you and offered to donate. And imagine what could have happened if I reached out to more businesses, more business owners, and see what they were willing to do to help out. I'd also use more time to coordinate. Maybe one extra meeting per week would have helped us so we didn't have to crunch as much. Because my goal, at least, was to make it as poetic as possible, and we end up finishing the project by Christmas and getting those projects delivered before Christmas. And it was really cool that students were able to get those supplies before Christmas. It was really cool. And I would definitely establish a slightly bigger PR committee to reach out, so I didn't have to do as much work.
Nice. All right. Thank you, Justin, for being here tonight and for all your efforts.
Of course, thank you.
I will now hand it off to Cedar to introduce the project organized by Marysville Getchell High School Key Club.
Thank you, Matthew. Today I have the honor of interviewing fellow committee member Abby Boador, who attends Marysville Getchell High School and who is the chair of this project. Marysville Getchell High School Key Club held a community-wide supply drive for survivors of domestic violence/physical abuse, and items donated for women, men, and children. And over 100 items were donated by members of the community. All items were able to be used and were greatly appreciated by the beneficiaries. So, Abby, how did receiving the PNWOF grant expand the impact of your project?
Yeah, so basically, I feel like through the PNWOF, our beginning donations were because of the PNWOF, and we used the funds that we got to purchase the items. We were able to motivate other students and other people in our community to become involved in the project. And I feel like we were able to show like our jumpstart in the drive.
That's amazing. My second question today is, what advice can you give for someone going through the application process?
My best advice for anyone that is applying for the PNWOF is to take your time to organize what you want to utilize your money for. In my case, we used the PNWOF for donation items. And when you are going through the PNWOF, you need to state specifically what items you need and how much it is. So you have to list every single item and the exact or approximate pricing before submitting it. And just calculate everything with your committee members and seeing what is good and what are the things we can use the grant for. Other things I would also have advice for is before submitting your application, write everything down on your notes. So for my committee, at least, we took our time to do our PNWOF application. It probably took us around 2 weeks to officially submit it, but before that we were working on it for the last month. But write everything down on your notes or your Google Docs, and sometimes Google Forms won't save your work, so I would highly recommend saving that work.
Completely agree. When applying for the PNWOF, detail is definitely key, and doing it early always helps. My next question is, what made the Servers project have an impact at your school?
The Servers project helped my club, school, and community connect. We were still asynchronous during this time, so we held our drive during February, and it was nice to see people come drop off items to our school's Dropbox, because we had like volunteer opportunities for our Key Club members to come in, and we had a specific hour for people to come in and drop off items. And it was also cool to see like people come back to our local grocery outlet, and because that's where we also had a station for people to come and donate, and people would come back multiple times because we held the drive for around 2 to 3 weeks, and we got to see so many people return and bring back more items. And yeah, I think it was also really cool to see that people were so passionate about the Snohomish Domestic Violence Center and how like much of an impact it made in our community.
Yeah, it's so interesting how like involved your community was and how there's like so many different options and they came so often. It's pretty awesome. My last question for you today is, do you have any memorable moments during the planning process for this project or the project itself?
Some memorable moments I've had during the drive was getting closer with my officer board and also the Key Clubbers involved. Because again, at that point we were still asynchronous, so I never got to meet any of my new freshman Key Clubbers. So a lot of them were really excited to get involved and finally volunteer, because like during the pandemic, other like memorable things were again having locals talk about the drive and spreading awareness through social media, and a lot of businesses were willing to post up their flyers in their stores, and it was really heartwarming to see like how much our community cared.
That's actually really cool. I love that. So thank you, Abby, for answering all my questions. We value your experience and willingness to share. I will now hand it off back to Haley.
Thank you so much to our panelists for being here with us tonight. Can we show our panelists some appreciation in the chat, please? I will now open the floor to any questions you may have. You can choose to ask a specific panelist a question or have it be a question everyone can answer. So go ahead and feel free to put those in the chat. All right, so I have a question that is for all panelists, and it says, why should someone apply for this grant? Abby, do you want to take this one first?
Sure. I feel like applying for this grant gives you so many opportunities just to get involved in your community and have a time with like your key clubbers to bond, because it opens up like so many ways to get involved with service, and for other people who are just getting introduced to service to be a part of something big like the PNWOF was just amazing to see.
Thank you. Justin, do you want to go next?
Yes. So I'll just put it straight. It saves you a lot of fundraising heartache. So if you have a big project in mind that you need to fundraise for, the PNWOF can save a lot of heartache. You don't have to fundraise for as long, or you don't need to plan for a fundraiser as much.
That's a good point. Jeannie, would you like to go next? I'm not sure if it's just me, but I don't think we can hear you. So I will move on to Delaney and come back to you. So Delaney, would you like to go next?
Yeah, so like what Abby said, I think the PNWOF grant will be very valuable if you need funding for your club. And like I said before, when you're fundraising, it could be difficult because now like there's a Delta variant and there's still wildfires. So it might be hard for some clubs to do fundraising in areas that are like super far away. So like this is where the PNWOF comes in. Like it will save you that extra time from going out and like the difficulty from driving to places to fundraise. And like I think when you're applying for the PNWOF, there's a good chance that you might get it if your service project is very meaningful and impactful to your community.
Being from a rural area myself, I completely understand that, and I totally agree that it is very beneficial for those of us in a rural area. So Jeannie,
Yeah, sorry.
You're all good.
Yeah, I think the wonderful thing that I hadn't really ever applied for the grant, but it brought a brand new energy into the Key Club, because it's a one-time shot and you get to try something. You're not going to probably do it the second year, maybe some of you will, but it might be just a one-shot deal. And it's just kind of fun to have that little higher energy in your club because you're doing something different than you normally do.
So the next question is, what would you say to someone who is on the fence about applying to the PNWOF? Jeannie, would you like to go first?
Would you repeat the question? Sorry.
It says, what would you say to someone who is on the fence about applying to the PNWOF?
Well, you have nothing to lose. The application is not that difficult, and it wouldn't take that long to fill that little paper out and submit it and just see what happens. I mean, just don't be shy. Just go for it and see what you come up with.
Those are all very valid points. Delaney, would you like to go next?
Yeah, so like if someone was on a fence, I'd just like tell them to apply, because like Jeannie said, like you have nothing to lose. Like even if you don't apply, or like if you do apply, there's a chance that you will get the PNWOF, and if you don't apply, then like you have no chance of getting the PNWOF. So like I think that you should totally apply for the PNWOF no matter what, because like even if the process like might take a while, or like it might be difficult to answer some of the questions, I just think that it's important that you submit the application, because like there's a chance that you will get the PNWOF.
Yeah, definitely. I think that's something really important to keep in mind as well. Abby, what about you?
I feel like even though you might be a little scared to apply for the PNWOF, if you don't, or if you do get it, or if you don't get it, it still sparks up a conversation with your club, and it can still help you guys like motivate yourself, even if you don't get it, or if you do get it, just to get involved and start the service project and complete those goals. Just yeah, it just like kind of creates a conversation.
Yeah, I think so too. Justin, what about you?
Don't feel like you are alone. Talk to your club, and it depends on how badly they want it, but they'll give you that push to fill out the PNWOF application. They'll give you that confidence that you might want so that you can get the PNWOF.
Delaney, this one is directed for you, and it says, what are some challenges you didn't originally anticipate when putting the service project together?
Yeah, so originally when we hosted Winter Blitz, it was held at our high school, but like because of the pandemic and our high school was shut down, we couldn't really hold it there. So like we had to reach out to other institutions like churches so we could like hold Winter Blitz there instead. So like instead of holding it at one place, Winter Blitz was like technically split up between 5 different locations, and we couldn't really have a lot of volunteers there because like of COVID and like social distancing. So like that was a challenge that we encountered. And another challenge that we encountered was with fundraising. When we went out to businesses to ask for grants and donations, like they couldn't say it because like their business wasn't doing well and that they couldn't give any donations, and to ask them next year. So like I think those two things were like what majorly impacted our event. And but like although we had those obstacles, we did overcome them, and Winter Blitz was a success.
That does sound like a lot of challenges you didn't originally plan. This next one is directed at Abby and Justin. It says, what was your favorite part of your service project? Justin, can you go first?
Definitely delivering the supplies to our family resource navigator. She was absolutely delighted to see all the supplies we got for her. And the pictures that we got were pretty cool too. Just seeing our achievements is really cool.
Yeah, I bet it felt like very heartwarming to hear too. Abby, what about you?
I think it was at the end of the service project, and it was time for us to deliver everything. And once we started packing everything, we basically had an entire room filled with items, and they were like stacked onto each other. So then we had to bring like 3 different cars to the center, and it was just really cool to see how much we actually did. And then we were also able to create like a better relationship with the domestic violence center because we've been able to connect with them again, and then serve them in their recent events. So it was just really cool to like build a new relationship with Key Club, and then also with the domestic violence services.
Yeah, I know services like that are always needing help, but I'm very glad you guys were able to make a connection with them. So this one is directed at Jeannie, and it says, from the adult perspective, how did this service project strengthen your club?
Well, the actual fire itself, which was such a devastating thing, everybody wanted to do something. It was just like you're just sitting there thinking, what can I do to help all these people? And so it just inspired everyone to, help with the food banks, help with the clothing drive. I mean, everyone was so involved, and the Key Club was, front and center. I don't think there was one person that didn't do at least 10 hours of work for a few weeks. So I think it was the actual situation of the fire and how devastating it was to the community that inspired the Key Clubbers to work endless hours of volunteerism during that time.
Yeah, I think definitely whenever a community faces such tragic events, it usually brings out the better in people.
Mhm.
But it's great to hear that your community is closer now. This one is directed to Delaney. It says, as Clackamas has been doing this project for many years, will your club be planning on doing this project again this year?
Yeah, we are. We actually started planning again this summer, and like because like I'm not an officer anymore, I'm actually a part of the Winter Blitz committee with the other previous officers that were on my board. And like right now, right now, I know that they're currently going out and trying to ask businesses for sponsorships and donations. And we're gonna have an assembly this week, and they're holding like a magic minute, so like students can give extra change that they have to help contribute to Winter Blitz.
That's amazing that you guys are already planning it and you have a magic minute plan. I know a lot of people raise a lot of money with those. This question is directed to Abby. It says, how can PNWOF funded service projects impact your Key Club?
Again, like I know I keep saying this, but the PNWOF really impacted my club because of how big the service project was able to be. I feel like with PNWOF's extra push, we were able to get more members wanting to get more involved with service and Key Club and volunteering. So I think that was just like our biggest achievement, aside from like doing the drive, was just getting our Key Club back on track after a COVID year and like getting new members interested and getting more people involved.
Yeah, that's really great. This question is directed to all panelists. It says, what are some initiatives you took to encourage people to participate in your project? Let's start with Justin.
Definitely promoting the project, just getting people to talk about the project as well. So as soon as they know about it, they're going to talk about it. So that was definitely something that helped my project.
Yeah, Jeannie, what about you?
I think the opportunity to get money from different sources. I know I just saw that you had the little article on the side for the YOF grant, the Youth Opportunities Fund from International. And we did that also and received another $2,000. So we were able to get, barbecue items, and we were able to get propane tanks and blankets and just quite a few other things. So the excitement of being able to do a lot of different things for these people was pretty overwhelming. And I would suggest if you're going to do the PNWOF, you should do the YOF one too. Just you might be surprised. You get both actual grants at one time.
Yeah, I know. I think someone put it in the chat that you are eligible to apply for both, and that's a good opportunity for anyone who's interested. So we do have time. Actually, let's go to Abby.
Can you repeat the question again, please?
Yeah, let me find it again. What are some initiatives you took to encourage people to participate in your project?
Some initiatives we did take was we got our ASB involved, and we also notified our NHS about it. And basically what we did with Key Club's own money, we were able to promote, hey, that we are having like a class competition. So whichever class brought in more, we were able to give them donuts. So that's how we got other people involved. And we also were giving goodie bags to them at the end for anyone who volunteered.
I know food is always very, very popular when promoting things. So moving on, Delaney, what about you?
So some initiatives that we took was that like Abby, we also partnered with other clubs at our high school. So like for Winter Blitz, we had NHS like help out, like guide families around the churches and like the school. And then we had Spanish Honor Society actually translate for Spanish speaking families. And then we also had our Honor Society paint posters, which I thought was really cool. And like as for our school, like when we were planning for the event, we have this thing called like adopting families, where like classes raise money and then that money is used to buy gifts for the children in each family. And so like each classroom basically like adopted a family and helped raise money, which I thought was like really amazing. And I think like the feeling of being involved in something like really great like makes you want to like help and like participate in this event like Winter Blitz.
That is amazing that you're able to like adopt families. Unfortunately, that is all the time we have for questions. Thank you everyone for joining us tonight. If you have further questions, you can contact me at treasurer@pnwkeyclub.org or through my phone at 509-733-0395. If you do choose to contact me through my cell phone, messages is preferred. Please also don't forget to follow our Instagram page at PNWOF Club Have a great night, everyone, and I'll see you later. And thank you so much to our panelists.
Thank you, panelists.
Bye, everyone.